6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Everybody, and welcome to Cooking the Books, where I take that book list, collecting dust in the corner, and read it to you so you don't have to. Trying to get better at that, so that's why we're here. Nobody has time to read. I force myself to, so you can at least listen to these books. Hopefully you like them. And I'm super excited to start this one because I really hated the last one, so it's got to be better than that, right? But I hope everybody's had a good week since I feel like it's been longer than a week since we did the last stream. It's really weird. I don't understand it. But I did come in theme with my Dragon Ball Z shirt since it's so influential, even though I do have Vegeta up here as well. But I like to have somewhat of a theme sometimes, depending on what it is. So, yeah. Let me say hi to everybody. Welcome you here because you're all awesome. Appreciate you. Thank you. What's up, Legatus? Always the first. I appreciate it. Pretty good mod here. The story the Buddha tasks the monk call. Yeah, so one thing is I may stumble through some of these names, but I will do my best. Tong Sansam or Tripitaka with journeying to India and provides him with 3 protectors who agree to help him in order to atone for their sins. I like it. I'm going to do something a little different this week for like the part 1. This is a multiple volume story, so I might later on do the next volumes, or you guys can read those on your own after we're done with this one. We'll see what it comes to. There was someone on my Animal Party. Oh, wow. Animal Farm stream that commented with some suggestions, like The Little Prince and a couple others, to which I cannot remember exactly. Shut my phone off here. Yeah, so we'll see what's after this. Well, after Frankenstein. promise is a promise, whether he asked for it or not. What's up, Dom? To read a better book this time. There's a huge Trump rally going on 5 miles down the road from me. From you. You didn't. I thought you were going to go to that. You could have just like listened on the replay. You could have went to that. I can't believe you misspelled huge. How dare you? I'm not going to attempt a Trump voice that's any better than that, though. Oh, dang, Legatus. I hope you're okay. Skimming through all this. Kinesthesiologist in 2 weeks? Well, I hope everything gets better enough. Hey, Sam. Not commenting, how dare you, while you're working and everything. And yes, Shirley Jackson can suck it. I agree. Hey, Jack, how's it going? Tomby, hi. How are you? Sorry, this shirt's covering them up today. I also have my fairy tale broken necklace because it's missing a piece, but hello, your average patriot nerd. Welcome back. How's it going? Hey, Mike has bad knees. What's up? What's going on? Make up new names. Maybe I'll call him like Son Goku and Gohan, and I should totally do that. I wouldn't be able to keep him track with who I'm calling what name. I like to pretend like I'm smart enough to do those types of things, but thanks, devil. They're still green, okay? Still green. There's still green in there. Punk. Looks like that's everybody. Trying to stay cool in Texas. How does that work? That's generally only in winter, isn't it? Nah, this hat's too big for me. All right. So, as the title states, we are going to read The Journey to the West. And there are 2 prefaces. Prefaces. That's what I'm going to say. I'm going to read both of those, but I'm not going to do the intro because it goes all the way up to like page 96, I think. Not doing that. And we learned our lesson with the last time for intros, but I did want to give you a description from the back of the book for what exactly this is in case anybody doesn't know. So really quickly, kind of like a recap. Obviously, it's a summary, but nothing to recap yet. I don't know why I'm stuttering today, but maybe I don't like the word recap. Or 3rd time's the charm, maybe. And yes, it is. Lovely. Raiders hat. At some point, I might just get a Saints one for my boy Carr. But this is not a football discussion stream sports thing, so let me give you a summary, everybody. Anthony C. Yu's translation of The Journey to the West, initially published in 1983, introduced English-speaking audiences to the classic Chinese novel in its entirety for the first time. Written in the 16th century, The Journey to the West tells the story of the 14-year pilgrimage of the monk Xuanzang, one of China's most famous religious heroes, and his 4 supernatural disciples in search of Buddhist scriptures. Throughout his journey, Xuanzang fights demons who wish to eat him, communes with spirits, and traverses a land riddled with a multitude of obstacles, both real and fantastical. An adventure rich with danger and excitement, this seminal work of the Chinese literary canon is by turns allegory, satire, and fantasy. In this new edition of one of the great works of Chinese literature, Yu has made his translations even more accurate and accessible with new explanatory notes, additions to the introduction, and modernized transliterations using the now standard Hanyu Pinyin romanization system. So just a quick overview of that for y'all. I don't know if I'd call it that, your average Patriot nerd. But hopefully that summary gave you a better idea. I'm not calling it that. But thanks, Jack. Aw, thanks, Tom. Technically my brother's, but it doesn't fit him. I think it's too big for him as well. Pretty sure we have very similar sized heads. No. Vikings. Oh, you should get your Vikings hat out. The original Raiders. Oh, hey, Blue Cord Devil. How's it going? Thanks for the snacks. I appreciate them. As a reminder, trying to be better at it, but stay lovey. I do have my stream elements link pinned to the top of chat. And if anybody feels generous, feel free to use that to donate, but you do not have to. I appreciate anything and everything, but mostly I appreciate you being here. So thank you. And though it is a preface, I do have lovely branding for y'all that I like to use, mostly for timestamps. So enjoy. Now, because I am a creature of habit and I just read how I prefer to read, I'm going to start with the preface to the revised edition, which is this one. So, a twofold purpose motivated my decision in 1969 to attempt a plenary English translation of The Journey to the West. On the matter of literary form, I wanted my version to rectify the distorted picture provided by Arthur Waley's justly popular abridgment, i.e. monkey folk novel of China by Wu Cheng'en, which regrettably excised all poetic segments and cut out or revised the prose passages at will. I felt strongly that it was high time that a classic Chinese novel like the one in question, though of extraordinary length and complexity, should be read in its entirety and not in bits and pieces. On the matter of the novel's understanding and critical interpretation, I wanted to redress an imbalance of emphasis championed by Dr. Hu Shi, who provided the Waley volume with the following observation. Freed from all kinds of allegorical interpretations by Buddhist, Taoist, and Confucianist commentators, Monkey is simply a book of good humor, profound nonsense, good-natured satire, and delightful entertainment. Monkey, page 5, for reference. Many other Chinese scholars for most of the 20th century shared this view. My own encounter with the text since childhood under the kind and skillful tutelage of my late grandfather, who used the novel as a textbook for teaching me Chinese during the years of the Sino-Japanese War, had long convinced me that this work was nothing if not one of the world's most finest wrought literary allegories. The past 4 decades of studying, translating, and teaching it at the University of Chicago have also made me a happy witness to new directions in its scholarly research and interpretation. The persistent efforts of Japanese, European, American, and Chinese scholars in diaspora and on the mainland during the last 2 decades have joined to enlarge dramatically our understanding of the text sources and religious context, especially those belonging to the Taoist religion since the late Tang. Completed in 1983, the first full-length English translation of the novel spawned its own ironies. No sooner had all 4 volumes appeared than friends and colleagues far and near protested their unwieldy length for general readers and for classroom usage. After years of resistance to pleas for a shorter edition, I decided, when approaching retirement in 2005, that an abridged version was indeed needed for classroom and readers' needs. The proposed text of about 35 chapters would, 1, convert the old Wade-Giles system of romanization to the now globally accepted Hanyu pinyin system for all Chinese names, locales, and terms. 2, remove most scholarly footnotes and all Chinese text. 3, provide a new and very brief introduction for general readers. And 4, include minor corrections of rhetoric and vocabulary where needed. The 1-volume edition, The Monkey and the Monk, an abridgment of The Journey to the West, was published in 2006 by the University of Chicago Press. Production of this abridged version, paradoxically, made me realize further the endless effort of literary translation, in some ways analogous to a performer's varied readings of a familiar music score. The linguistic signs or musical notations remain the same, but the understanding of them may greatly alter. On the matter of tempo alone, a comparison of Glenn Gould's recordings of J.S. Bach's The Complete Goldberg Variations in 1955 and 1981 yields illuminating differences. My abridgment in every aspect, shorter introduction, simplified notes, emendations, certainly betokens awareness and assumptions of new knowledge. The first full-length edition, in turn, now displays quite a few pockets of datedness. I resolved that I would devote my newfound leisure in retirement to attempt a major and complete overhaul of the first edition. The principal objectives consist with, but not entirely identical to, those of the abridged volume, would be to 1, convert the entire romanization system to pinyin, 2, restore and update or augment, where necessary, all scholarly annotations. 3, provide a major restatement of the introduction that, apart from providing basic information about the novel, would study the most important new scholarship on literary issues, religious traditions, especially unidentified sources in the Buddhist and Taoist canons and in extra-canonical materials, and modes of interpretation. And 4, correct or amend both prose and poetic segments of the translation to make semantics and prosody more concise. Because the 5 pilgrims in the novel, like characters in fiction of another language, i.e. Russian, have multiple names, I have made uniform the way I translate them. Formal names and surnames are romanized, i.e. Chen Zhuanzang, Sun Wukong. Informal names or nicknames become direct translations, i.e. Pilgrim for the Chinese Jingzhe, disciple or acolyte. 8 rules for Baji, a change in the pejorative title for monkey from the romanized Bimawen to Bon Horse Plague. My hope is that this revised version, like volumes of the Arden Shakespeare 3rd series or Dorothy L. Sayers' The Divine Comedy, will last for some time as a teaching edition. The timely award of an Emeriti Fellowship by the Mellon Foundation in 2006 provided immense encouragement and assistance for the initial stage of technical work, scanning the 4 volumes and rendering the 2,000-plus pages in free text format. Purchase of needed equipment and materials and some travel to different libraries and centers Professor Roth, Dean of Humanities at the University of Chicago, and Professor Richard Rosengarten, Dean of the Divinity School at the University of Chicago, have given generous help from the beginning, facilitating expert and unfailing computer support from 2 units of the university. I am grateful as well to the University of Chicago Press for its receptiveness to my proposal for a revised edition. Dr. Yuan Zhou, curator of Regenstein Library's East Asian collections, and his able staff members, William Isborough Okuizumi, and Jian Zhaowen, have worked tirelessly to acquire needed materials far and near. As in the past, the encyclopedic bibliographical expertise of Dr. Tylo Ma, director of Princeton University's East Asian Library and the Jest Collection, continues to furnish trusted guidance. Professor Lai Chi Tim of the Chinese University of Hong Kong gave invaluable help to my ongoing labor by installing personally during one of his visits all available databases of Taoist scriptures into my computer. Professor Richard G. Wang, University of Florida, and Professor Yang Li, Shanghai University, provided diligent collaboration in tracking and identifying comprehensively the Taoist sources for both poetry and prose cited in the novel. Professor Nicholas Koss, Fujian University, Taiwan, Professor Jiancheng Li, Louisiana State University, and Professor Ping Xiao, Davidson College, had showered me with their generous gifts of scholarly publications, of their own and of others, that are crucial for my research. In early 2009, my wife and I were privileged to take our first visit to Australia, where I served for a fortnight as visiting fellow at the China Institute of Australia National University. I wish I could name every one of the faculty and student colleagues whose extraordinary kindness and hospitality made that journey indelibly memorable. The constraint of space notwithstanding, I must register lasting gratitude to the faculty members of ANU College of Asia in the Pacific, Jeremy Barmay, Duncan Campbell, John Markham, Benjamin Penny, and Richard Rigby, who offered constant friendship and intellectual stimulation, especially for my continuing work of translation and revision. Nathan Woolley, doctoral candidate at the college and executive assistant of the Institute, attended to our every need. The generosity of John Minford, a friend and kindred spirit of more than 3 decades in things literary, linguistic, and, discovered during this visit to Australia, musical, made the entire journey possible. His and his wife Rachel's hospitality not only helped erase the strain of great distance between Canberra and Chicago, but it also allowed us to enjoy several cherished meetings with Professor Liu Sunyan before his passing a few months later. My indebtedness to Professor Liu's scholarship should be apparent in the introduction and the notes studying this translation. The final draft of the new long introduction has benefited enormously from the sort of attentive and astute reading that one may expect only from true and generous friends. And this was bestowed by Professor Zhao Yikun, Stanford University, Professor Nathan Sivan, Emeritus, University of Pennsylvania, and Dr. Zhu Dongfang, now of Emory University. Their criticisms, corrections, and suggested emendations have vastly improved the manuscript. Remaining faults and errors are entirely my own. As I reach this phase of my project, my one sadness comes from the realization that all readers of the revised edition will no longer enjoy the rare art of the late Wen Qing Xian, Mrs. T.H. Xian, whose peerless Chinese calligraphy ornamented many pages of the original 4 volumes. Portions of a recent essay, The Formation of Fiction in the Journey of to the West, Asia Major 3rd Series, bunch of numbers that you don't care about, were used in different parts of the introduction by permission. When I began work on the translation long ago, it was an early and ready decision to dedicate the first volume to my wife and our only son. After more than 4 decades, it is both privilege and pleasure to renew the dedication. Anthony C. Yu, Chicago, 2011. I'm going to get my bookmark so I can skip the intro. I'm not going to do the preface to the first edition because he basically gave a summary in that. So no need to waste your time. Let's get to the story, right? After I chit chat with you a little bit and take a drink of my coffee. Why are we talking about Canucks? What happened? As long as this book is better than Hill House, let's go. Yeah, even that friggin' preface was better than Hill House. Oh no, you're not a Canucks fan. How dare you? I don't know if we can be friends anymore. Friggin' Canucks. Since 96, wow. It is long standing. I'll allow it, I guess. It's about as long as my Bruins fandom. Following? Whatever. My personal fandom started around the same time. You're a casual Lightning fan. What is with my chat? Oh, I already knew Doms. Hey, Mud Crab, how's it going? Oh. Caught up and discovered. I am really sorry to hear that. I hope everything's okay. Hopefully you can listen to this and maybe take your mind off of it. I'm really sorry to hear that, Mud Crab. Hey, Kel. How's it going? Let me see. I mean, it seems to... I'm just going to put it in here. See what it does. Okay, it's coming up for me, Dom. I'm going to unpin the old one. Unpin message. Paste. And maybe that one will work. If not, no worries. I'm sorry for the trouble. It worked on my computer. I don't know, maybe if it's not working on the phone or something like that. All right, cool. Let's see. Did I pronounce it properly? Isn't it Canberra, not Canberra? Mud Crab. There's a manufactured city because Melbourne and Sydney were having a so it's sterile and filled with the political. Ah, that's interesting. Not gonna lie, I felt a little bit like that. Yes, not tea this time. It's technically a cappuccino. Went to the fights once a hockey game. I miss fights in hockey. Freaking hats. All right, let's get started with the story. If everyone's cool with that. I'm going to start with chapter 1. I don't know how many chapters we'll do per stream. We'll kind of play it by ear, though. Just so everyone has an idea, it starts on page 99. So all of the stuff before that is, like, some of it is There's like a, what's it called? I know it's in here. Dang it. Oh, maybe I'm thinking of the end. Yeah, there's like an index and stuff at the end. So the entire book is about 500 pages, but the actual story is 478. Yeah, it's like 550 something for the entire book. But yeah, there's a bunch of like notes and references and whatnot for each chapter and for select pages, things like that in the back. So this is the actual book as I drop my... Actually, I was going to switch out bookmarks. So I retired the "you paused" here with the little kitty to go with my fun one. The other one's fun too, but you can read that because fuck off, I'm reading. And then there's a little book. And thank you to Dom for getting these for me. Appreciate it. Okay. I'll stop chit-chatting and start reading because that's what I'm here for, right? Chapter 1. The divine root conceives, its source revealed. Mind and nature nurtured, the great Tao is born. The poem says, ere chaoses divide, with heaven and earth a mess, no human appeared in this murkiness. When Pan-Gu broke the nebula apart, the dense and pure defined did clearing start. Enfold all life supreme humanness would, and teach all things how become good they should. To know cyclic time's work, if that's your quest, read Tale of Woes dispelled on Journey West. We heard that in the order of heaven and earth, a single period consisted of 129,600 years. Dividing this period into 12 epochs, where the 12 stems of Zi, Chao, Yin, Mao, Chen, Si, Wu, Wei, Shen, Yu, Zhu, and Hai, with each epoch having 10,800 years. Considered as the horary circle, the sequence would be thus. The first sign of dawn appears in the hour of Zi, while at Chao, the cock crows. Daybreak occurs at Yin, and the sun rises at Mao. Chen comes after breakfast, and by Si, everything is planned. At Wu, the sun arrives at its meridian, and it declines westward by Wei. The evening meal comes during the hour of Shen, and the sun sinks completely at Yu. Twilight sets in at Zhu, and people rest by the hour of Hai. This sequence may also be understood macrocosmically. At the end of the epoch of Zhu, heaven and earth were obscure, and all things were indistinct. With the passing of 5,400 years, the beginning of Hai was the epoch of darkness. This moment was named chaos, because there were neither human beings nor the two spheres. After another 5,400 years, Hai ended, and as the creative force began to work great perseverance, the epoch of Zi drew near and again brought gradual development. Shao Kongye said, when to the middle of Zi winter moved, no change by heaven's mind had been approved. The male principle had but barely stirred, but the birth of all things was still deferred. At this point, the firmament first acquired its foundation. With another 5,400 years came the Zi epoch. The ethereal and the light rose up to form the four phenomena of the sun, the moon, the stars, and the heavenly bodies. Hence, it is said, the heaven was created at Z. This epoch came to its end in another 5,400 years, and the sky began to harden as the Chow epoch approached. The classic of change said, great was the male principle, supreme the female. They made all things in obedience to heaven. At this point, the earth became solidified. In another 5,400 years after the arrival of the Chow epoch, the heavy and the turbid condensed below and formed the 5 elements of water, fire, mountain, stone, and earth. Hence, it is said, the earth was created at Chow. With the passing of another 5,400 years, the Chow epoch came to its end, and all things began to grow at the beginning of the Yin epoch. The book of Calendar said, the heavenly aura descended, the earthly aura rose up. Heaven and earth copulated, and all things were born. At this point, heaven and earth were bright and fair. The yin had intercourse with the yang. In another 5,400 years during the yin epoch, humans, beasts, and fowls came into being, and thus the so-called 3 forces of heaven, earth, and man were established. Hence it is said, man was born at yin. Following Pan Gu's construction of the universe, the rule of the 3 august ones, and the ordering of the relations by the 5 thearchs? My bad. The world was divided into 4 great continents. They were the East Purva-Vidaha continent, the West Aparagodania continent, the South Jambudvipa continent, and the North Uttarakura continent. This book is solely concerned with the East Purava-Vidaha continent. That was fun. You're welcome. Beyond the ocean, there was a country named Aulai. It was near a great ocean, in the midst of which was located the famous flower fruit mountain. This mountain, which constituted the chief range of the 10 islets and formed the origin of the 3 islands, islets, came into being after the creation of the world. As a testimonial to its magnificence, there is the following poetic rhapsody. Its majesty commands the wide ocean. Its splendor rules the jasper sea. Its majesty commands the wide ocean. When, like silver mountains, the tide sweeps fishes into caves, its splendor rules the jasper sea. When snow-like billows send forth serpents from the deep, on the southwest side pile up tall plateaus. From the eastern sea arise soaring peaks. There are crimson ridges and portentous rocks, precipitous cliffs, and prodigious peaks. Atop the crimson ridges, phoenixes sing in pairs. Before precipitous cliffs, the unicorn singly rests. At the summit is heard the cry of golden pheasants. In and out of stony caves are seen the strides of dragons. In the forest are long-lived deer and immortal foxes. On the trees are divine fowls and black cranes. Strange grass and flowers never wither. Green pines and cypresses always keep their spring. Immortal peaches are ever fruit-bearing. Lofty bamboos often detain the clouds. Within a single gorge, the creeping vines are dense. The grass color of meadows all around is fresh. This is indeed the pillar of heaven, where 100 rivers meet. The earth's great axis in 10,000 kalpas unchanged. There was on top of that very mountain an immortal stone which measured 36 feet and 5 inches in height and 24 feet in circumference. The height of 36 feet and 5 inches corresponded to the 365 cyclical degrees, while the circumference of 24 feet corresponded to the 24 solar terms of the calendar. On the stone were also 9 perforations and 8 holes. Each corresponded to the palaces of the 9 constellations and the 8 trigrams. Though it lacked the shade of trees on all sides, it was set off by epidendrums on the left and right. Since the creation of the world, it had been nourished for a long period by the seeds of heaven and earth and by the essences of the sun and the moon, until, quickened by divine inspiration, it became pregnant with a divine embryo. One day it split open, giving birth to a stone egg about the size of a playing ball. Exposed to the wind, it was transformed into a stone monkey endowed with fully developed features and limbs. Having learned at once to climb and run, this monkey also bowed to the 4 quarters, while 2 beams of golden light flashed from his eyes to reach even the palace of the pole star. The light disturbed the great benevolent sage of heaven, the celestial jade emperor of the most venerable diva, who, attended by his divine ministers, was sitting in the cloud palace of the golden arches, in the treasure hall of the divine mists. Upon seeing the glimmer of the golden beams, he ordered Thousand-Mile Eye and Fair-Wind Ear to open the south heaven gate and to look out. At this command, the 2 captains went out to the gate, and, having looked intently and listened clearly, they returned presently to report. Your subjects, obeying your command to locate the beams, discovered that they came from the Flower Fruit Mountain at the border of the small Aulai country, which lies east of the East Purvavidaha continent. On this mountain is an immortal stone that has given birth to an egg. Exposed to the wind, it has been transformed into a monkey who, when bowing to the 4 quarters, has flashed from his eyes those golden beams that reach the palace of the pole star. Now that he is taking some food and drink, the light is about to grow dim. With compassionate mercy, the Jade Emperor declared, these creatures from the world below are born of the essences of heaven and earth, and they need not surprise us. That monkey in the mountain was able to walk, run, and leap about. He fed on grass and shrubs, drank from the brooks and streams, gathered mountain flowers, and searched out fruits from trees. He made his companions the tiger and the lizard, the wolf and the leopard. He befriended the civet and the deer, and he called the gibbon and the baboon his kin. At night, he slept beneath stony ridges, and in the morning he sauntered about the caves and the peaks. Truly, in the mountain there is no passing of time. The cold recedes, but one knows not the year. One very hot morning, he was playing with a group of monkeys under the shade of some pine trees to escape the heat. Look at them, each amusing himself on his own way by swinging from branches to branches, searching for flowers and fruits. They played 2 games or 3, with pebbles and with pellets. They circled sandy pits. They built rare pagodas. They chased the dragonflies. They ran down small lizards. Bowing low to the sky, they worshipped bodhisattvas. They pulled the creeping vines. They plaited mats with grass. They searched to catch the louse that they bit or squeezed to death. They dressed their furry coats. They scraped their fingernails. Those leaning leaned, those rubbing rubbed, those pushing pushed, those pressing pressed, those pulling pulled, those tugging tugged. Beneath the pine forest and free to play, they washed themselves in the green water stream. So, after the monkeys had frolicked for a while, they went to bathe in the mountain stream and saw that its currents bounced and splashed like tumbling melons. As the old saying goes, fowls have their fowl speech, and beasts have their beast language. The monkeys said to each other, we don't know where this water comes from. Since we have nothing to do today, let us follow the stream up to its source to have some fun. With a streak of joy, they dragged along males and females, calling out to brothers and sisters, and scrambled up the mountain alongside the stream. Reaching its source, they found a great waterfall. What they saw was a column of white rainbows rising, 1,000 yards of snow caps flying. The sea wind blows but cannot sever what a river moon lights up forever. Its cold breath divides the green glades, its branches wet the verdant shades. This torrent named a waterfall seems like a curtain hanging tall. All the monkeys clapped their hands in acclaim. Marvelous water, marvelous water. So this waterfall is distantly connected with the stream at the base of the mountain and flows directly out, even to the great ocean. They said also, if any of us had the ability to penetrate the curtain and find out where the water comes from without hurting himself, we would honor him as king. They gave the call 3 times when suddenly the stone monkey leapt out from the crowd. He answered the challenge with a loud voice, "I'll go in, I'll go in." What a monkey! For today his fame will spread wide. His fortune the time does provide. He's fated to live in this place, sent by a king to God's palace. Look at him. He closed his eyes, crouched low, and with one leap, he jumped straight through the waterfall. Opening his eyes at once and raising his head to look around, he saw that there was neither water nor waves inside, only a gleaming, shining bridge. He paused to collect himself and looked more carefully again. It was a bridge made of sheet iron. The water beneath it surged through a hole in the rock to reach the outside, filling in all the space under the arch. With bent body, he climbed on the bridge, looking about as he walked, and discovered a beautiful place that seemed to be some kind of residence. Then he saw fresh mosses piling up indigo, white clouds like jade afloat, and luminous sheens of mist and smoke, empty windows, quiet rooms, and carved flowers growing smoothly on benches. Stalactites suspended in milky caves, rare blossoms voluminous over the ground. Pans and stoves near the wall show traces of fire. Bottles and cups on the table contain leftovers. The stone seats and beds were truly lovable. The stone pots and bowls were more praiseworthy. There were, furthermore, a stalk or 2 of tall bamboos, and 3 or 5 sprigs of plum flowers. With a few green pines always draped in rain, this whole place indeed resembled a home. After staring at the place for a long time, he jumped across the middle of the bridge and looked left and right. There in the middle was a stone tablet on which was inscribed in regular large letters, "The blessed land of Flower Fruit Mountain, the cave heaven of Water Curtain Cave." Beside himself with the delight, the stone monkey quickly turned around to go back out and, closing his eyes and crouching again, leapt out of the water. "A great stroke of luck," he exclaimed with 2 loud guffaws. "A great stroke of luck." The other monkeys surrounded him and asked, "How is it inside? How deep is the water?" The stone monkey replied, "There isn't any water at all. There's a sheet iron bridge, and beneath it is a piece of heaven-sent property." "What do you mean that there's property in there?" asked the monkeys. Laughing, the stone monkey said, "This water splashes through a hole in the rock and fills the space under the bridge. Beside the bridge, there is a stone mansion with trees and flowers. Inside are stone ovens and stoves, stone pots and pans, stone beds and benches. A stone tablet in the middle has the inscription, 'The blessed land of the Flower Fruit Mountain, the cave heaven of the Water Curtain Cave.' This is truly the place for us to settle in. It is, moreover, very spacious inside and can hold thousands of the young and old. Let's all go live in there and spare ourselves from being subject to the whims of heaven. For we have in there a retreat from the wind, a shelter from the rain. You fear no frost or snow, you hear no thunderclap. Mist and smoke are brightened, warmed by a holy light. The pines are evergreen, rare flowers daily new. When the monkeys heard that, they were delighted, saying, "You go in first and lead the way." The stone monkey closed his eyes again, crouched low, and jumped inside. "All of you," he cried, "follow me in, follow me in." The braver of the monkeys leapt in at once, but the more timid ones stuck out their heads and then drew them back, scratched their ears, rubbed their jaws, and chattered noisily. After milling around for some time, they too bounded inside. Jumping across the bridge, they were all soon snatching dishes, clutching bowls, or fighting for stoves and beds, shoving and pushing things hither and thither. Befitting their stubbornly prankish nature, the monkeys could not keep still for a moment and stopped only when they were utterly exhausted. The stone monkey then solemnly took a seat above and spoke to them. "Gentlemen, if a man lacks trustworthiness, it is difficult to know what he can accomplish. You yourselves promised just now that whoever could get in here and leave again without hurting himself would be honored as king. Now that I have come in and gone out and come in, and have found for all of you this heavenly grotto in which you may reside securely and enjoy the privilege of raising a family, why don't you honor me as your king?" When the monkeys heard this, they all folded their hands on their breasts and obediently prostrated themselves. Each one of them then lined up according to rank and age, and bowing reverently, they intoned, "Long live our great king." From that moment, the stone monkey ascended the throne of kingship. He did away with the word stone in his name and assumed the title Handsome Monkey King. There is a testimonial poem that says, "Triple spring mated to beget all things. A divine stone quickened by the sun and moon, changed from egg to ape to reach the great way. Loan name and surname matched elixir made. Formless inside, he yields no image known. His outward guise coheres in action shown. In every age, all persons will yield to him. Hailed a king, a sage, he is free to roam." The handsome Monkey King thus led a flock of gibbons and baboons, some of whom were appointed by him as his officers and ministers. They toured the flower fruit mountain in the morning, and they lived in the water curtain cave by night. Living in concord and sympathy, they did not mingle with bird or beast, but enjoyed their independence in perfect happiness. For such were their activities. In the spring, they gathered flowers for food and drink. In the summer, they went in quests of fruit for sustenance. In the autumn, they amassed taros and chestnuts to ward off time. In the winter, they searched for yellow sperms to live out the year. I'm going to go find reference to that. Maybe. Screw it. Some sort of sustenance are yellow sperms, I guess. The handsome Monkey King had enjoyed this insouciant existence for 300 or 400 years when one day, while feasting with the rest of the monkeys, he suddenly grew sad and shed a few tears. Alarmed, the monkeys surrounding him bowed down and asked, "What is disturbing the great king?" The Monkey King replied, "Though I am very happy at the moment, I am a little concerned about the future. Hence, I'm distressed." The monkeys all laughed and said, "The great king indeed does not know contentment. Here we daily have a banquet on an immortal mountain in a blessed land, in an ancient cave on a divine continent. We are not subject to the unicorn or the phoenix, nor are we governed by the rulers of mankind. Such independence and comfort are immeasurable blessings. Why then does he worry about the future?" The Monkey King said, "Though we are not subject to the laws of man today, nor need we be threatened by the rule of any bird or beast, old age and physical decay in the future will disclose the secret sovereignty of Yama, king of the underworld. If we die, shall we not have lived in vain, not being able to rank forever among the heavenly beings?" When the monkeys heard this, they all covered their faces and wept mournfully, each one troubled by his own impermanence. But look, from among the ranks, a bareback monkey suddenly leapt forth and cried aloud. If the great king is so far-sighted, it may well indicate the sprouting of his religious inclination. There are, among the 5 major divisions of all living creatures, only 3 species that are not subject to Yama, king of the underworld. The Monkey King said, "Do you know who they are?" The monkey said, "They're the Buddhas, the immortals, and the holy sages. These 3 alone can avoid the wheel of transmigration, as well as the process of birth and destruction, and live as long as heaven and earth, the mountains and the streams." "Where do they live?" asked the Monkey King. The monkey said, "They do not live beyond the world of the Jambudvipa, for they dwell within ancient caves on immortal mountains." When the Monkey King heard this, he was filled with delight, saying, "Tomorrow I shall take leave of you all and go down the mountain. Even if I have to wander with the clouds to the corners of the sea or journey to the distant edges of heaven, I intend to find these 3 kinds of people. I will learn from them how to be young forever and escape the calamity inflicted by King Yama." Lo, this utterance at once led him to leap free of the transmigration net and be the great sage equal to heaven. All the monkeys clapped their hands in acclamation, saying, "Wonderful, wonderful. Tomorrow we shall scour the mountain ranges to gather plenty of fruits, so that we may send the great king off with a great banquet." Next day, the monkeys duly went to gather immortal peaches, to pick rare fruits, to dig out mountain herbs, and to chop yellow sperms. They brought in an orderly manner every variety of orchids and epidendrums, exotic plants, and strange flowers. They set out the stone chairs and stone tables, covering the tables with immortal wines and food. Look at the golden balls and pearly pellets, red ripeness and yellow plumpness. Golden balls and pearly pellets are the cherries, their colors truly luscious. Red ripeness and yellow plumpness are the plums, their taste a fragrant tartness. Fresh lungans of sweet pulps and thin skins, fiery lychees of small pits and red sacks. Green fruits of the pyrus are presented by the branches. The loquats yellow with buds are held with their leaves. Pears like rabbit heads and dates like chicken hearts. Dispel your thirst, your sorrow, and the effects of wine. Fragrant peaches and soft almonds are sweet as the elixir of life. Crisply fresh plums and strawberries are sour like cheese and buttermilk. Red pulps and black seeds compose the ripe watermelons. 4 cloves of yellow rind enfold the big persimmons. When the pomegranates are split wide, cinnabar grains glisten like specks of ruby. When the chestnuts are cracked open, their tough bronze are hard like cornelian. Walnut and silver almonds fare well with tea. Coconuts and grapes may be pressed into wine. Hazelnuts, yews, and crab apples overfill the dishes. Kumquats, sugar canes, tangerines, and oranges crowd the tables. Sweet yams are baked, yellow sperms overboiled, the tubers minced with seeds of water lily, and soup in stone pots simmers on a gentle fire. Mankind may boast its delicious dainties, but what can best the pleasures of mountain monkeys? The monkeys honored the Monkey King with the seat at the head of the table, while they sat below according to their age and rank. They drank for a whole day, each of the monkeys taking a turn to go forward and present the Monkey King with wine, flowers, and fruits. The next day, the Monkey King rose early and gave the instruction, "Little ones, cut me some pine wood and make me a raft. Then find me a bamboo for the pole and gather some fruits and the like. I'm about to leave." When all was ready, he got onto the raft by himself. Pushing off with all his might, he drifted out toward the great ocean and, taking advantage of the wind, set sail for the border of South Jambudvipa continent. Here is the consequence of his journey, of this journey. The heaven-born monkey, strong in magic might, He left the mount and rode the raft to catch fair wind. He drifted across the sea to seek immortal's way, determined in heart and mind to achieve great things. It's his lot, his portion, to quit earthly zeals. Calm and carefree, he'll face a lofty sage. He'd meet, I think, a true discerning friend. The source disclosed, all Dharma will be known. It was indeed his fortune that, after he boarded the wooden raft, a strong southeast wind, which lasted for days, sent him to the northwestern coast, the border of the South Jambudvipa continent. He took the pole to test the water, and finding it shallow one day, he abandoned the raft and jumped ashore. On the beach, there were people fishing, hunting wild geese, digging clams, and draining salt. He approached them, and making a weird face and some strange antics, he scared them into dropping their baskets and nets and scattering in all directions. One of them could not run and was caught by the Monkey King, who stripped him of his clothes and put them on himself, aping the way humans wore them. With a swagger, he walked through counties and prefectures, imitating human speech and human manners in the marketplaces. He rested by night and dined in the morning, but he was bent on finding the way of the Buddhas, immortals, and holy sages, on discovering the formula for eternal youth. He saw, however, that the people of the world were all seekers after profit and fame. There was not one who showed concern for his appointed end. This is their condition. When will end this quest for fortune and fame, this tyrant of early rising and retiring late? Riding on mules, they long for noble steeds. By now prime ministers, they hope to be kings. For food and raiment, they suffer stress and strain, never fearing Yama's call to reckoning. Seeking wealth and power to give to sons of sons, there's not one ever willing to turn back. The Monkey King searched diligently for the way of immortality, but he had no chance of meeting it. Going through big cities and visiting small towns, he unwittingly spent 8 or 9 years on the South Jambudvipa continent before he suddenly came upon the great Western Ocean. He thought that there would certainly be immortals living beyond the ocean. So, having built himself a raft like the previous one, he once again drifted across the western continent until he reached the West Aparagodania continent. After landing, he searched for a long time, when all at once he came upon a tall and beautiful mountain with thick forests at its base. Since he was afraid of neither wolves and lizards nor of tigers and leopards, he went straight to the top to look around. It was indeed a magnificent mountain. 1,000 peaks stand like rows of spears, 10,000 cubits of screen widespread. The sun's beams lightly enclose the azure mist. In darkening rain, the mount's color turns cool and green. Dry creepers entwine old trees, ancient fords edge secluded paths. Rare flowers and luxuriant grass, tall bamboos and lofty pines. Tall bamboos and lofty pines. Blah, blah, blah. For 10,000 years grow green in this blessed land. Rare flowers and luxuriant grass in all seasons bloom as in the isles of the blessed. The calls of birds hidden are near. The sounds of streams rushing are clear. Deep inside deep canyons the orchids interweave. On every ridge and crag sprout lichens and moss. Rising and falling, the ranges show a fine dragon's pulse. Here in reclusion must an eminent man reside. As he was looking about, he suddenly heard the sound of a man speaking deep within the woods. Hurriedly, he dashed into the forest and cocked his ear to listen. It was someone singing, and the song went thus. I watch chess games, my axe handles rotted. I chop at wood, zhang zhang the sound. I walk slowly by the clouds' fringe at the valley's entrance. Selling my firewood to buy some wine, I am happy and laugh without restraint. When the path is frosted in autumn's height, I face the moon, my pillow the pine root. Sleeping till dawn, I find my familiar woods. I climb the plateaus and scale the peaks to cut dry creepers with my axe. When I gather enough to make a load, I stroll singing through the marketplace and trade it for 3 pints of rice, with nary the slightest bickering over a price so modest. Plots and schemes I do not know. Without vainglory or a taint, my life's prolonged in simplicity. Those I meet, if not immortals, would be Taoists, seated quietly to expound the yellow court. When the handsome Monkey King heard this, he was filled with delight, saying, "So the immortals are hiding in this place." He leapt at once into the forest. Looking again carefully, he found a woodcutter chopping firewood with his axe. The man he saw was very strangely attired. On his head he wore a wide splint hat of seed leaves freshly cast from new bamboos. On his body he wore a cloth garment of gauze woven from the native cotton. Around his waist he tied a winding sash of silk spun from an old silkworm. On his feet he had a pair of straw sandals with laces rolled from withered sedge. In his hands he held a fine steel axe, a sturdy rope coiled round and round his load. In breaking pines or chopping trees, where's the man to equal him? The Monkey King drew near and called out, "Reverend immortal, your disciple raises his hands." The woodcutter was so flustered that he dropped his axe as he turned to return the salutation. "Blasphemy, blasphemy," he said. "I, a foolish fellow with hardly enough clothes or food. How can I bear the title of immortal?" The Monkey King said, "If you are not an immortal, how is it that you speak his language?" The woodcutter asked, "What did I say that sounded like the language of an immortal?" The Monkey King explained, "When I came just now to the forest's edge, I heard you singing, 'Those I meet, if not immortals, would be Taoists, seated quietly to expound the yellow court.' The yellow court contains the perfected words of the way and virtue. What can you be but an immortal?" Laughing, the woodcutter said, "I can tell you this much. The tune of that lyric is named 'A Court Full of Blossoms,' and it was taught to me by an immortal, a neighbor of mine. He saw that I had to struggle to make a living and that my days were full of worries, so he told me to recite the poem whenever I was troubled. This, he said, would both comfort me and rid me of my difficulties. It happened that I was anxious about something just now, so I sang the song. It didn't occur to me that I would be overheard." The Monkey King said, "If you are a neighbor of the immortal, why don't you follow him in the cultivation of the way? Wouldn't it be nice to learn from him the formula for eternal youth?" The woodcutter replied, "My lot has been a hard one all my life. When I was young, I was indebted to my parents' nurture until I was 8 or 9. As soon as I began to have some understanding of human affairs, my father unfortunately died, and my mother remained a widow. I had no brothers or sisters, so there was no alternative but for me alone to support and care for my mother. Now that my mother is growing old, all the more I dare not leave her. Moreover, my fields are rather barren and desolate, and we haven't enough food or clothing. I can't do more than chop 2 bundles of firewood to take to the market in exchange for a few pennies to buy a few pints of rice. I cook that myself, serving it to my mother with the tea that I make. That's why I can't practice austerities." The Monkey King said, "According to what you have said, you are indeed a gentleman of filial piety, and you will certainly be rewarded in the future. I hope, however, that you will show me the way to the immortal's abode so that I may reverently call upon him." "It's not far," the woodcutter said. "This mountain is called the Mountain of Mind and Heart, and in it is the cave of Slanting Moon and 3 Stars. Inside the cave is an immortal by the name of the Patriarch Subodhi, who has already sent out innumerable disciples. Even now there are 30 or 40 persons who are practicing austerities with him. Follow this narrow path and travel south for about 7 or 8 miles, and you will come to his home." Grabbing the woodcutter, the Monkey King said, Honored brother, go with me. If I receive any benefit, I will not forget the favor of your guidance. What a boneheaded fellow you are, the woodcutter said. I have just finished telling you these things, and you still don't understand. If I go with you, won't I be neglecting my livelihood? And who will take care of my mother? I must chop my firewood. You go on by yourself. When the Monkey King heard this, he had to take his leave. Emerging from the deep forest, he found the path and went past the slope of a hill. After he had traveled 7 or 8 miles, a cave dwelling indeed came into sight. He stood up straight to take a better look at this splendid place, and this was what he saw. Mist and smoke in diffusive brilliance, flashing lights from the sun and moon, 1,000 stalks of old cypress, 10,000 stems of tall bamboo. 1,000 stalks of old cypress, draped in rain, half fill the air with tender green. 10,000 stems of tall bamboo. Held in smoke will paint the glen chartreuse. Strange flowers spread brocades before the door. Jade-like grass emits fragrance beside the bridge. On ridges protruding grow moist green lichens. On hanging cliffs cling the long blue mosses. The cries of immortal cranes are often heard. Once in a while a phoenix soars overhead. When the cranes cry, their sounds reach through the marsh to the distant sky. When the phoenix soars up, its plume with 5 bright colors embroiders the clouds. Black apes and white deer may come or hide. Gold lions and jade elephants may leave or bide. Look with care at this blessed holy place. It has the true semblance of paradise. He noticed that the door of the cave was tightly shut. All was quiet, and there was no sign of any human inhabitant. He turned around and suddenly perceived at the top of the cliff a stone slab approximately 8 feet wide and over 30 feet tall. On it was written in large letters, "The Mountain of Mind and Heart, the Cave of Slanting Moon and 3 Stars." Immensely pleased, the handsome Monkey King exclaimed, "People here are truly honest. This mountain and this cave really do exist." He stared at the place for a long time but dared not knock. Instead, he jumped onto the branch of a pine tree, picked a few pine seeds and ate them, and began to play. After a moment, he heard the door of the cave open with a squeak, and an immortal youth walked out. His bearing was exceedingly graceful. His features were highly refined. This was certainly no ordinary young mortal, for he had his hair bound with 2 cords of silk, a wide robe with 2 sleeves of wind. His body and face seemed most distinct, for visage and mind were both detached. Long a stranger to all worldly things, he was the mountain's ageless boy. Untainted even with a speck of dust, he feared no havoc by the season's rot. After coming through the door, the boy shouted, "Who is causing disturbance here?" With a bound, the Monkey King leapt down from the tree and went up to him, bowing. "Immortal boy," he said, "I am a seeker of the way of immortality. I would never dare cause any disturbance." With a chuckle, the immortal youth asked, "Are you a seeker of the way?" "I am indeed," answered the Monkey King. "My master at the house," the boy said, has just left his couch to give a lecture on the platform. Before even announcing his theme, however, he told me to go out and open the door, saying, "There is someone outside who wants to practice austerities. You may go and receive him. It must be you, I suppose." The Monkey King said, smiling, "It is I, most assuredly." "Follow me in, then," said the boy. With solemnity, the Monkey King set his clothes in order and followed the boy into the depths of the cave. They passed rows and rows of lofty towers and huge alcoves of pearly chambers and carved arches. After walking through innumerable quiet chambers and empty studios, they finally reached the base of the green jade platform. Patriarch Subodhi was seen seated solemnly on the platform, with 30 lesser immortals standing below in rows. He was truly an immortal of great ken and purest mien. Master Subodhi, whose wondrous form of the West had no end or birth by work of the double 3. His whole spirit and breath were with mercy filled. Empty, spontaneous, it could change at will. His Buddha nature able to do all things. The same age as heaven had his majestic frame. Fully tried and enlightened was this grand priest. As soon as the handsome Monkey King saw him, he prostrated himself and kowtowed times without number, saying, Master, Master, I, your pupil, pay you my sincere homage. The patriarch said, Where do you come from? Let's hear you state clearly your name and country before you kowtow again. The Monkey King said, Your pupil came from the water curtain cave of the flower fruit mountain in the Aulai country of the East Purvavidaya continent. Chase him out of here, the patriarch shouted. He is nothing but a liar and a fabricator of falsehood. How can he possibly be interested in attaining enlightenment? The Monkey King hastened to kowtow unceasingly and to say, Your pupil's word is an honest one without any deceit. The patriarch said, If you are telling the truth, how is it that you mention the East Parvavidaya continent? Separating that place and mine are two great oceans and the entire region of the South Jambavidipa continent. How could you possibly get here? Again, kowtowing, the Monkey King said, Your pupil drifted across the oceans and trudged through many regions for more than 10 years before finding this place. The patriarch said, If you have come on a long journey in many stages, I'll let that pass. What is your surname? The Monkey King again replied, I have no temper. If a man rebukes me, I am not offended. If he hits me, I am not angered. In fact, I simply repay him with a ceremonial greeting, and that's all. My whole life's without ill temper. I'm not speaking of your temper, the patriarch said. I'm asking after the name of your parents. I have no parents either, said the Monkey King. The patriarch said, If you have no parents, you must have been born from a tree. Not from a tree, said the Monkey King, but from a rock. I recall that there used to be an immortal stone on the flower fruit mountain. I was born the year the stone split open. When the patriarch heard this, he was secretly pleased and said, Well, evidently you have been created by heaven and earth. Get up and show me how you walk. Snapping erect, the Monkey King scurried around a couple of times. The patriarch laughed and said, Though your features are not the most attractive, you do resemble a Pignolia eating monkey. This gives me the idea of taking a surname for you from your appearance. I intended to call you by the name Who. If I drop the animal radical from this word, what's left is a compound made up of the two characters gu and yue. Gu means aged and yue means female. But an aged female cannot reproduce. Therefore, it is better to give you the surname of Sun. If I drop the animal radical from this word, what we have left is the compound of Z and G. Z means a boy and G means a baby, and that name exactly accords with the fundamental doctrine of the baby boy. So your surname will be Sun. When the Monkey King heard this, he was filled with delight. Splendid, splendid, he cried, kowtowing. At last I know my surname. May the master be even more gracious. Since I have received the surname, let me be given also a personal name, so that it may facilitate your calling and commanding me. The patriarch said, Within my tradition are 12 characters that have been used to name the pupils according to their divisions. You are one who belongs to the 10th generation. Which 12 characters are they? Asked the Monkey King. The patriarch replied, They are wide, great, wise, intelligence, true, conforming, nature, see, sharp, wake to, complete, and awakening. Your rank falls precisely on the word wake to, or woo, in reference. You will hence be given the religious name Wake to the Void, Wukong. All right? Splendid, splendid, said the Monkey King, laughing. Henceforth, I shall be called Sun Wukong. So it was that. At Nebula's parting, he had no name. Smashing stubborn void needs wake to the void. We do not know what fruit of Taoist cultivation he succeeded in attaining afterward. Let's listen to the explanation in the next chapter. Everybody awake? It's kind of a long chapter, huh? I failed to mention that I was motivated to read this because of the Black Myth Wukong game coming out recently. You probably guessed. Hopefully, you all heard that chapter and it didn't cut out at any point. I'm really upset because my ring light has gone out, so I'm glowing a bit. I apologize. There, I'm not as white. Whatever. Whew. All right. How far do I have to scroll up? Were you guys talking the entire time? And listening, I hope. And Mudcrab is apparently putting a bunch of weird language into the chat. Whew. Okay, I will be right back. I'm going to warm up my coffee because my throat is very dry and I want it warm. So I'll be right back. Ooh, all right, back. This is definitely a different experience with how long these chapters are. It's almost like it's a book rather than trash like the last book, huh? Oh my goodness. Ooh, answer my question. Canberra is acceptable, as is dragging it out. Canberra. Like I said, it's a very sterile city. Most of the rest of Australia have a low opinion. Interesting. Some of you guys might know I work in like the travel industry for a tour company. So I learned different things about like different locations. So that's why I call it Melbourne instead of Melbourne or Canberra or Canberra. Sorry, not Canberra. Well, anyway, so that's why I was wondering. Oh, hey, Clinton. Welcome. I'm not sure when you jumped in, but hopefully you're enjoying it with everybody else, as I'm assuming everybody is. No, sort of, kind of. It is, yes, a very Chinese story. Do you guys want me to try and find the references, like in the index? Because it does point to them as I'm reading through them. Like they're all numbered and whatnot. It's not really all that helpful though. It would definitely elongate the experience. Like there was one specifically. This is definitely a book for school, as he mentioned in the preface. I will have to look into it. I have not seen that. Might be a good thing to compare to once this is over, as it seems to be. I keep reading things that have adaptations for the screen, so might be fun. Hey, like that. There's many movies. I mean, if we want, we could always just watch Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. May or may not have influenced it. Could totally do that. CJ, what's up, man? How's it going? Nice. That's awesome. Obviously, there was a bit of inspiration from the learning about the game. I didn't even really know what the Journey to the West was, like that it had such a cultural influence on so many different things. Like I didn't even know that it inspired Dragon Ball Z until Black Myth Wukong was about to come out, and learned through that. I'm not the most cultured person, so it's also why I'm doing this and why I started with Animal Farm. So it's awesome. Hopefully you're enjoying it. And there was rejoicing. What do you guys think so far? Were you following along? I feel like in the beginning there was a lot of information that there were a lot of references where me reading it is probably different than you guys listening to it. Like I kind of after this stream might go back just to kind of figure out the epics and like how each one is set, like which one's twilight versus when you go to sleep and noon, all of that stuff. Probably a very and I don't know if you heard differences in my inflection and tone whenever it's a poem. Let me preface this. I don't like poetry. So I probably not reading it very well for you. So I apologize with that. I hate all the different kinds of poetry. I don't like it. But I try my best. So I've been trying to put a certain inflection on my tone when I'm reading a poem versus when I'm reading the story. So hopefully you guys are able to kind of pick up on that. If not, I'll work on it and try to do better. If you prefer I say poem incoming, let me know. Now, why are you talking in weird languages? What is this? What is going on? You know what? Chat will do as chat do. I'm going to move on. I actually really enjoy the fact that chat is very active tonight. It's fun. Yeah, I'm not going to murder you in Minecraft or otherwise. I think it's kind of cool. You guys chat amongst yourselves. I like it, especially because I'm not hearing it while I'm reading, so it's not interrupting me. That makes sense. As if I were your school teacher. I guess I should put on my glasses, even though I don't need them for reading. I'm going to pretend to be your... Never mind. You know what? Forget I said that. Let's yeah. Yeah, it was a pretty long chapter. Kind of funny. I'm gonna see when chapter 3. I think they're all gonna be pretty long, but this one's about 15 pages. Oh, yeah. So I may just end up doing like 2 chapters per stream, and this one had a preface. So, because yeah, holy crap, it's 7:30. It's funny. This is gonna be fun. Because it did start, yeah, basically on page 100. It was 16 pages. Sorry if I'm mumbling and you can't understand me talking to myself. Yeah. Anyway. Mud Crab has taken over chat, I see. What are you guys even talking about? I'm so lost. The asylum's getting busy. Yeah, it would seem so, wouldn't it? You did get away with it. A shrubbery? What are you guys talking about? I'm so confused. I'm glad. I feel like it kind of picked up once it got to the story part of it, rather than like the background of how the world came to be, as it seemed to have started. And yes, this is a good little summary. Stone Monkey jumped through the waterfall, became Handsome Monkey, then went around learning human stuff and got given his full name. You were paying attention. Good job. It's not Melvin. Thank you, Mud Crab. Good to know with the locals and all. I will not. Thank you, the goddess. Listen, Shirley Jackson, I know you love me, but you don't need to come back. Just saying. Call me what you will, woman. Your book sucked. I don't know. Okay, yeah, it's definitely not Tolkien. Very well. I will skip the reference pages for the index and everything. Are you listening from your phone? I definitely blame your phone for listening in. I'll try to be better at recapping stuff, Dom. So you don't have to listen all the time on replay. But if you want to, that's totally your prerogative. And I appreciate the views that it would get. It is also not the Divine Comedy, whose appendix is not bigger than the stories. Ugh, that's the worst. If you need to, I don't know. I haven't read it. Whatever. I told you I'm not very culturally adept. Whatever. Is the Divine Comedy, isn't that Shakespeare? Am I making that up out of whole cloth? Me. Okay, I thought I saw Monty Python in there because there was like the Knights of Ni reference. Yeah, I'm actually really glad I missed that because I don't like Monty Python. Hate me if you will. Yeah, it was totally your phone then. I don't know if I'd blame Twitter necessarily. I blame your phone. So Monkey was a live action TV show made by Japan. It got dubbed and was all over Australia and UK TV in the 80s. Most people my age grew up on it. Interesting. Dante's Divine Comedy. Thank you. I knew Shakespeare was wrong, but whatever. My bad. I'm learning, okay? I don't know if I want to read Dante's Divine Comedy, though. But either way, if you have to explain in like appendices longer than the actual book itself or story itself, I don't know how to think about that, honestly. What to think about. Whatever. Got honey on my finger. He used all the people of his era into various hells, so you have to look. Oh Lord. It sounds like a chore. I guess that's why you read it in school, huh? To which I did not. Old school localization. It's so funny. I was too young to understand that things were being changed the way they were when I watched things like Card Captors / Card Captor Sakura for the Japanese version. So when I was older, Card Captor Sakura, which is the subbed version, it made me realize how much of the story they changed to make it more palatable for the 90s and the moms of the 90s, because there's characters in it that are gay, or there's like weird love relationships in it, but they don't take away from the story. Like, it's done properly, and it just makes me laugh because now it's no longer the right that's being ridiculous, and it's the polar opposite side of the spectrum, which are just two sides of the same coin. So there's that. Don't worry about the dog demon. She's just a bitch. Have a good night, your average patriot nerd. Thanks for sticking around. I'm probably going to end here soon anyway, so enjoy your evening and your sleep. And honestly, on that note, I think that's a good place to stop. I gotta go make dinner. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out. I appreciate it. You guys are awesome. You rock. No, we're definitely not doing a 24-hour stream, Dom. Nice try. But I got to get better at all the outro stuff. So be sure to give the video a like and a share if you so feel. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram and all those places. And yeah, this is going to be an interesting ride going through this story. I like it so far. I hope you guys did. Have a good night. We appreciate all of you as usual. Take care.